Well, of course, the fallout of the return of Luke Skywalker continues, and inevitable. This was to happen. So Star Wars writer Brian Young mocks the Phantom Menace for embracing Luke Skywalker. So what's the deal here? So this is an article in Bounding into Comics talking about this, and there's a video on it already, and all this stuff. So apparently he was talking to Peter Scaretta. And Peter says, I know you mentioned the word fan service, but fan service just keeps thrown around all the time as if that condemns anyone's views or criticisms of a given franchise or whatnot. Look, Disney spent billions of dollars to purchase this. Why? Because they just really like Star Wars and it's cool. No, you make a decision like that because it has this massive built-in audience already. Sure, you want to grow it, but to spend that kind of money on it, it's because that guaranteed audience was there, and The Force Awakens proves that. That was a massive hit because people just really wanted new Star Wars, and they were all excited, and they were there. It was locked in, done deal, and then you burned it to the ground. And with the idiocy of, I'm going to grow with a new audience that's out there, it never manifests. I've heard this so many times now. There's this magical new audience you're going to go get, and they never show up. So the business model here for this is baffling and boggling and just beyond stupidity, the likes of which I've never seen it at this level before because of how big Star Wars was and all that. So anyway, that was the fan. Shut up with your fan service. It's called customer service. If you don't understand that, then I don't know. This is not your art house films and your personal narratives and whatnot. Certainly not with a franchise like Star Wars, especially when you're making movies with the titles of Chapter 7, 8, and 9. It's not going to be completely your personal message in total and what have you. So yeah, I think the evidence of reality speaks for itself in that. So anyway, that's what apparently that's the bent that Mr. Young comes from. But he said, but I could also see the angle that Filoni is giving the Phantom Menace. They hated, The Last Jedi. Oh boy, did they? That's putting it mildly. What they wanted from Luke. Does any of that hit you? So he responds, I think that would have a lot more weight if he was cutting down stormtroopers. I think putting people in those costumes would be a lot different. I think they purposely established it so that he wouldn't be doing that. Well, it would have been more or less the same scene, except I imagine he would have been having more defensive responses to the stormtrooper attacks, and then he just would have knocked them all down with the Force and stuff like that. That being said, the scene wouldn't have happened at all if there was only stormtroopers and not the dark troopers, because you saw Mando and the girls just wipe them out. And that's the problem with stormtroopers, and that's a big flaw. Especially, it's really emphasized in Mandalorian that the stormtroopers are just not a threat to any of them. I mean, you could be one guy and wipe out an entire platoon of stormtroopers. So the idea of they wouldn't have needed to be saved by Luke. He would just show up. Hey guys, it's me. Huh? Oh, hey, look, it's Luke Skywalker. And that would be it. So, but anyway, so he continues. But no, I don't think so. I think this Luke is so consistent with that struggling Luke of Return of the Jedi, who is teetering between light and dark. Okay, yeah. And this shows that it's not a one-time choice. Well, no, it wouldn't be. And that he has to make those choices every day because of the power and the responsibility he has. Okay, he's fine up to that point. And I think there's also a contrast here between his discussion about taking Grogu versus Ahsoka's, where Ahsoka looks into him and says, nope, his attachment is so bad, we're out of here. How old are you? So yeah, that's also very important. We had those two scenes, and Luke takes him right away, whereas Ahsoka says, nah, I've already seen what happens with people with attachments and where it leads them. And of course, she's referring to Anakin. And so he compares it. And the Luke in Last Jedi refers to his arrogance and thinking that he could do this stuff. And here he just yeah, let's do it. He just wants your permission. We're good to go, though. Luke, I'm gonna take this baby. Oh, good Lord. And I think Ahsoka's hesitation shows much more wisdom on her part than Luke has here. And so I think it's wholly consistent with The Last Jedi. So, yes, things could go very dark with Grogu, and we don't, and that could possibly be more for the drama and whatnot of the narrative established here, and that's what I'm wondering about. And other people are saying, no, the fate of Grogu, we've already seen it. Kylo kills him with the rest of the Luke's school. But again, this just shows the people who keep thinking they're defending The Last Jedi, and I'll get to that in a bit too, coming to this, they're ignoring the entire story of the 6 films of the Skywalker saga. So Ahsoka is very much like Obi-Wan, because they both went through the same thing with Anakin, and he cannot be saved. What did Luke do before he reaches this point here? What did he do? Yes, that's right. He saved Anakin Skywalker and turned him away from Darth Vader. He risked everything to do this, despite everyone telling him he couldn't. And the interesting thing here, what did Yoda tell him? Always with you, it cannot be done. And then Luke, by his actions, turns that on them. He would not give up. And that was the danger they feared, that he was too attached to his father, his love for his father, and wanting to save him. And Obi-Wan says he's just more machine than man now. You just can't reach him. Believe me, I tried. And all that. And Luke does it. So that puts him in a position of thinking. He says, well, that's his arrogance, and that could lead to his failure. Okay, it's not going to turn him into a child killer. He's not going to immediately decide, I need to kill Ben Solo. The school hadn't been burned down yet. Ben Solo hadn't killed Mara Jade. Does she exist in this narrative anymore? I don't know. And I heard they're going to weave her in some form or fashion, but he has no real motivation for this other than, well, he had a vision. Yeah. After everything he went through for a man he didn't really know. Whereas Ben Solo is a boy he's known since his birth. His own flesh and blood, as it were, his nephew. Come on. That scene is terrible. It's awful. Last Jedi could have just been a bad or stupid movie, but that was just cruel. And all the snotty responses about how it's all consistent. No, it isn't. There's no explanation. What puts Luke there? There's nothing there. And so you just, no. And the idea that, you're just incapable of thinking about it, which is how this ends. So he says it's consistent with the Last Jedi, that this is arrogance on his part. And he's trying to restore the Jedi Order. He finds a Jedi. He's, a Force-sensitive being, and he continues with the work, Ahsoka is, like I said, like Obi-Wan, and she's been brought up in the Jedi Order and that dogma that they held to, which ultimately contributed to Anakin's problem. Had they been more open to that, had they been more able to help him out, they might have been able to clear his mind to the point that look, Anakin, you can't trust Palpatine to save Padme, and that's ridiculous. But he was so terrified of losing her after losing his mother, he was never going to suffer that again, and it pushed him by the manipulations of Palpatine into becoming Darth Vader. And that was the problem. But he was alone in this. He was completely alone. And had he had Obi-Wan, if he could have been more open to it, yeah, I've married Padme and I'm in love with her and all this stuff. And I've had these visions. And then with their combined help, and they would have been a formidable defense against what Palpatine was doing, and they would have won, and the Jedi Order would not have fallen, and so on and so forth. But because of the dogma being adhered to like this, trying to avoid this very thing ended up actually contributing to it. And so when Luke comes in, his Jedi Order is not going to be like the old Jedi Order. And, so yeah, he's going to try. And, and he's not wrong that, and Mandalorian thinks this too, that the child's always going to be in danger if he doesn't have a means by which to use his powers to protect himself and whatnot. But the problem does exist. He loves Mando. He wants, and so his attachment to Mando could lead him to be vulnerable to the dark side. And that's a possibility. But you know what? Life has its risks, doesn't it? So Ahsoka, in a lot of ways, is so hurt and broken what happened to Anakin. It's certainly understandable that her position on this, whereas Luke he has an opposite experience. He actually saved Anakin, so it's understandable there, and it's not just arrogance. It's not. It's love. A cool scene with Ahsoka would be for her to meet Luke Skywalker. And I saw someone on Facebook post a little comic strip thing where they had to do that, and he tells her, "Oh, well, Anakin was saved. I saved him." And she burst into tears. And it would be even cool if Anakin actually appeared in ghost form to talk to her. Boy, that would be some powerful stuff. And so on and so forth. So, yes, there are dangers afoot for poor little Grogu, even though he's in the hands of Luke Skywalker. And I'm hoping we'll get more of that. I don't know how much of Luke they can do with that, but certainly we might be able to meet the Jedi school that he's building, and there would be other Jedi there and that kind of thing. And sooner or later, I'm sure Grogu wants to be back with Mando, who, as for all intents and purposes, he considers his daddy. Yeah. So there you go. But yes, finally, this is telling right here. It's just another insult against criticism of Last Jedi, and that is not a defense of Last Jedi. There is no defense. Mr. Young does not provide a defense for Jedi. You don't parse the nuance. Oh, man. So that's all it is. There's never been a defense of Last Jedi. There's only attacks of the criticism and just, well, it subverted expectations, which is just, a plot device. It defends it. Was it a good subversion of expectations? No. I mean, yeah, it did subvert expectations. I thought the film would be good. I was wrong. So you got me. And so on and so forth. So that's all it is. There's no defense. There's only attacks against fans, even to the point of accusing them of being Russian bots. Whatnot. Not going to take any lectures from Mr. Young here on intellect. Sorry. So there you go. The nonsense continues, which is foolish, but it kind of explains a lot, doesn't it? Anyway, there you go. Welcome back, Luke. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr. Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.